Now, over 76,000 grade 12 pupils in the Western Cape are expected to write the 2023 Matric exams. The Provincial Education Department says it will keep a close eye on proceedings and on any potential irregularities. But the Manenberg Community Policing Forum has raised safety concerns for pupils amid the surge in gang violence in the area. Learners have been caught in crossfire, in shootouts, and several other issues that they face as well. Let's unpack this story. We're joined this morning by the chairperson of the Manenberg CPF, Vernon, and Bronagh Hammond is the spokesperson for the Western Cape Education Department. To both of our guests, thanks very much indeed. Vernon, I want to kick off the conversation with you this morning because learners in, particular areas in the Western Cape, those areas that come to mind, Manenberg, Hanover Park, for example, where gang violence is the order of the day, they face a particular challenge, don't they, in trying to achieve a matric pass?
For sure, they do face a tremendous challenge, and that is to do with gang war on the Cape Flats. And, that is the worrying factor at this moment for our matriculants.
So, Bronagh, I understand that the Western Cape Education Department is concerned about irregularities, which of course is a concern around the country. But can we focus for a moment on areas like Manenberg and the kinds of interventions that the Provincial Education Department will put in place to ensure that learners have a fair chance and that they are on par with other learners in other parts of the country who don't face this particular challenge of gang violence?
No, every year we see at this time of the year gang violence flaring up within our communities, and it's always very, very close to our National Senior Certificate examination, so it is a concern. But our examinations team is excellent in terms of, working with SAPs, working with law enforcement agencies within the municipalities and disaster risk management to actually just to find out where there are issues, where there could be potential flare-ups of violence or even protest action, for example, or road closures, and make contingency plans in those areas if required. Also getting extra police visibility around those examination centres, ensuring safe passage of learners around those schools, and protecting also the examination centre itself.
Yeah, that's incredibly important. Bronagh, you're saying if required, and what we know about gang violence is that, there's no warning. It can flare up at any time. Does it mean that we have this kind of increased police visibility, increased visibility at examination venues, for example, making sure learners can get to class and back safely? I mean, can it be a constant thing?
It is difficult, it is challenging, and it does rely on a lot of intelligence as well. But we are grateful for organisations and, like local CPFs, for example, that do assist us. But, they are very, very particular about looking at, we need to ensure that every examination paper arrives at that venue safely and gets back to us safely. And we also want all our learners to get to the examination centre safely, because if they miss one exam, then they have to rewrite the examination to get their full senior certificate.
Yeah.
So it is something that we put a lot of emphasis on in the department, and I do believe that our examination team is really putting on their A game in terms of trying to ensure that they mitigate any risks as far as possible. Of course, there are situations that flare up at a sudden notice, but I've seen magic happening in many, many years in terms of what they can achieve to ensure that the integrity of the examinations is intact. But of course, we also need to look at the safety of learners, and the risk actually lies in the learners actually traveling to and from their examination venue. If a child doesn't arrive at that examination venue in time, they put themselves at risk, they put themselves under stress. And I think actually just even those anxiety levels, if you're going to school or to your examination venue and there's shooting happening in the community, you sitting down to write that examination with anxiety and stress already in your body. And I think that's also an unfortunate consequence. And I think it is unfair on those learners.
I want to put this question to you, Vernon, but Bronagh, I would like you to weigh in on this as well. What it takes for our learners in particular communities to achieve that matric pass? These are learners who, in most cases, will not have, for example, inverters or won't have access to clean water as regularly as learners in more affluent areas are concerned. Vernon, there are other issues outside of the massive challenge of gang violence in certain areas like Manenberg. But there are also issues of load shedding, right? We've had the worst cycle of load shedding on record this year. Water supply, as I say, weather conditions, delays in payments for social grants. Learners in some communities face an uphill battle, Vernon.
I don't think we realize the amount of stress and effort that these learners has got to put into preparing for their final exams. It goes beyond my thinking to see the effort that they have to do and to make sure that they are successful by the end of the year, passing their matric exams. It's a tremendous amount of effort that goes into it. And I think that people in our areas, sometimes we don't appreciate the fact that our learners have got to struggle and work that hard to be successful in life. And for them just to achieve their matric results, to me, it's a big achievement, you know. The social ills of our communities, the unemployment rate, the fact that our children has got to press through in difficult conditions, as you just mentioned now, the load shedding, not the water sanitation, everything works against them. But, you know, what is so beautiful is that you can celebrate at the end of the year the achievement. That makes it even more worth the while.
Vernon, can you give us a sense of how communities are coming together to try and help learners, not only in their matric year, but as they go through their schooling careers, right? How are communities coming together? For example, you're the head of the CPF in Manenberg. How does the community come together to try and support learners?
You know, I would want to say, first of all, I take my hats off to the stakeholders that in the morning that they've got a feeding program to ensure that our learners are well fed, and then also our neighborhood watchers to ensure that the children are walked to school safely, and then all the other the community, the moms, those that are not working, those that are at home, to see that our children gets to school safely and come also back home safely. That is, I would want to say, we appreciate those type of help that we can get in the community. And for those that are prepared for after mural activities such as, again, taking care of them studying in a safe environment, the churches, the mosque that is opening up for our students to go and study there, I would want to say a very, very big thank you to them.
Yeah. Bronagh, it's a heartbreaking situation, right? In a country that is the most unequal in the world, that it takes just that much more for learners in particular communities to try and be on an equal footing with those in more affluent areas, right? Is there an increased awareness of this in the Department of Education in the Western Cape? And is there an increased focus on supporting learners in such areas?
No, 100%. And I think what Vernon says is 100% right. You know, it does take a village to, you know, ensure that these children get the best possible outcome in their matric exams. That's what we were trying to achieve. And for us, we're looking at retention of learners and to retain them in the system as far as possible so that they can get to their matric and finish it and get that certificate, because it is so important. And it really is a collaborative effort. You know, in these communities, you know, the amazing work that so many people do really does help the department, but more importantly, it helps the child. And I think that's our appeal to communities, is during this period to support the children within your community, ensure that they have safe passage to their examination centres. But on the department side, of course, we are very aware of the challenges in these communities, and that's why extra support is given to learners and candidates in these exams. And their preparation for these exams. For example, we have our Back on Track program, which is, trying to recover the learning losses that we experienced in COVID-19, which hits disadvantaged communities particularly hard because of access to technology during that period. And this cohort was very affected during that period. So we have had extra spring schools, winter school programs, extra lessons, tutoring sessions on Saturdays for particular learners that have been identified to assist them during this period. And then obviously we have provided additional resources. We know that there's load shedding. We know that learners might not have access to technology. So we provided examination exemplar papers to all candidates so that they can sit home when there isn't a load shedding, that they just have a light and they can use those examination exemplars for work, as well as tips on how to prepare for their exams. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, and we definitely are aware of what the challenges some learners face, but we are also amazed how many have overcome adversity and shine in some of these communities, and it's amazing, some of these stories.
And just what it takes to shine, right, in that kind of context. Vernon, while we have the Western Cape Education Department spokesperson on the line, is there a message that you would like to convey from the Manenberg community to the department?
Everything, I would want to say this to the minister, everything is stacked against Manenberg at the moment. And I'm saying this because my heart is bleeding for Manenberg. Right now, they've promised us the schools of skills that will be built in Manenberg. Up till now, we haven't received any communication from your department when that building is going to be in the process of them building the school of skills. Then again, they've closed one of our main schools to open up the schools of skills. Now that again, taking out, you can see what I'm trying to say here. That already now you have taken away one of the best schools in Manenberg, which was your Silverstream High, which produced a lot of good learners. And for that school, for that school not to be rebuilt again, it's a loss for Manenberg. Now you can see the gap. The gap is so big that your dropout rate at primary school already, Minister, it's big in number itself. So my concern is the children that we have already lost, which is over 400 to 500 children that has got no future. We've got to now see how we can get them back into the system. That is a massive gap already for the beginning of next year. Now, where is this heading to? I'm asking myself, isn't there somebody that is taking note? Isn't social development coming to the party? Isn't the education coming to the party? Where is this leading for Manenberg? And you can well imagine, with your unemployment rate already high, you are looking at matriculants this year that is going to pass and they're just going to have the matric certificate. That is also not enough. That isn't going to get them into university, and it's not going to get them to get a good job at the end of the day. So those are the issues here that we got to deal with, and the challenges that we have to face. That is already big enough for us for next year.
Bronagh Hammond is, of course, the spokesperson for the Department of Education in the Western Cape, Vernon. But, Bronagh, would you like to weigh in and just reply to two main issues there? Retention, which you say the department is working on. The story that the provincial department is telling of retention is different very often to what communities are seeing on the ground. There are a lot of children, if you drive down the road at any time of day, a lot of children that are not in schools. That's the one hand. The other hand, Silverstream High and the School of Skills. Can you respond to that?
Yeah, with regard to Silverstream, yes, there's a whole precinct that has been developed in Manenberg, and it is reliant on various departments and building infrastructure in terms of the hospital that will be built. It's a whole big precinct that's been developed. We have provided infrastructure projects in Manenberg. We have Red River Primary School. Other projects have happened in the last few years. We promised a school of schools in Manenberg, and we have delivered on that. We have put it in the old Silverstream site as a temporary measure until we can go ahead with the building of the actual facility. But we believe that we have put a lot of resources into Manenberg. We will continue to remain on our commitment to improve the resources and schools infrastructure in Manenberg. And, you know, as I said, it is reliant on other projects going forward. So we are waiting in education to see where we can go and when we can start building. But we have delivered on the school of skills in Manenberg. Again, you know, we have provided additional resources in terms of fencing, bulletproof fencing at some of our schools. And yes, sometimes it's not enough because of the realities on the ground, as well as SROs, which are our school resource officers, which the City of Cape Town have provided us at some of our schools, are stationed there as officers, and other additional security measures. But yes, we know that there's challenges in Manenberg. This last week, I've had various reports of shootings in the area, which of course is very traumatizing for the school communities.
Yeah. It's a big story, and this discussion far from over. If we had more time, I think we could go on for another couple of hours at least, but let's leave it there for this morning. Visagie, let me thank you for your time. The Manenberg CPF Chairperson, and Bronagh Hammond is the spokesperson for the Western Cape Education Department. Big, long-standing issues that have yet to be dealt with.